Hello! This guide will serve to teach you how to understand the fast-paced gameplay of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. A lot can be on the screen at a given time, and it can be overwhelming if you try to learn it all at once. So this quick guide will break down how the game is played in manageable chunks. So what will the tutorial teach you? It'll teach you what the mechanics of the game are and how they impact how the game is played. If you've ever watched competitive Smash Bros. Of any type, or any game or sport for that matter, you probably know that spectators get really excited when something cool happens. Some of the cool things that are done in Smash are extremely hard to pull off, but viewers might not understand them if they don't have the proper background knowledge. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is an esport, meaning that it's competitive in the same way that competitive fencing, chess, and other mind games work. The goal of the game is to defeat your opponent. Just like all popular games, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has specific terms that refer to in-game actions, so that people discussing the game can refer to them correctly. Whenever one of these terms is used, I will make an effort to point it out. In this tutorial, I will be focusing on the traditional competitive Smash format, which means things like in-game items, stamina, and Smash Balls will not be covered. The game can be played casually as well with these features, but I'd like to keep the video short. To understand how Super Smash Bros., or just Smash, is played, you first need to understand the basics. So, the most basic concept is the movement in the game. You can move on a 2D plane, left, right, up, or down. You can move up or down by jumping or falling. Every character in the game has attacks. These attacks, if they hit an opponent, will deal damage. When the damage is dealt, a number will increase at the bottom of the screen showing how much damage has been dealt based on a percent. This number ranges from 0 to 999, although players will usually die before it reaches that higher value. And that is because the higher amount of damage that you have, the more you will fly back when you're hit by an attack. So if you're at 0% and you're hit by an attack, you won't really go anywhere. But if you're hit by that same attack when you're at 100%, you'll fly off the stage. Now the reason this matters is that most games are played on a floating island, and if you get knocked off in any of the four directions, either falling down from gravity, getting knocked up, or to one of the two sides, then you'll die hitting an area in the stage called the blast zone. It's usually off screen, so when people get hit off, you'll see an explosion effect appear on the screen, which signifies that that character has lost a life. Lives in Super Smash Bros. Are referred to as stocks. Usually, in competitive games, people play with 3 stocks, which means if you lose 3 stocks, the opponent will win. So first, I'll go over the 3 states of play. The 3 states of play are neutral game, recovery, and comboing. At any given point in a game, one of these 3 states will be taking place. Neutral game is when players try to hit the other and increase the other player's percent while keeping theirs low. Recovery is when one player gets to a high enough percent and is hit off the stage. They usually have a chance to get back on, which is called recovery. The edges of the stage give a few moments of invincibility, so it's usually what players will try to go for. The player that's still on the stage wants to keep the other one off, so they will do whatever they can to keep them from grabbing the ledge or landing on the stage. The third state of play is comboing. If one player during neutral game gets a good hit that knocks the other player up, they can continue to juggle the other player around, racking up percents without letting the other player get on the ground to reset. Now I'll go over some of the attacks that you'll likely see during a match of Super Smash Bros. Don't feel like you have to absorb all this information, but just try to understand as much as you can. Also note that many of the generalizations I'll make about attacks are not true for every case. For instance, characters typically cannot move while making an attack on the ground, but some, like Kirby, have a move where they can charge it and walk around. Starting off, neutral attack is the most basic attack in the game. It deals low damage, but it can hit opponents multiple times and deal some easy damage. Smash attacks are big moves that deal massive damage, but they take a while to perform and need to be charged to do more damage, so opponents can easily counter the attack if they see it coming. Smash attacks have the best knockback in the game and are great for killing opponents if they hit. There are 3 types of smash attacks: forward smash attacks, upward smash attacks, and downward smash attacks. Forward smash attacks deal massive damage directly in front of the player, while up smash attacks typically cover the area above the player and deal similar damage to forward smash. Down smash attacks usually cover both the left and the right, for if you're not sure which side the opponent will be on. Next, I'll cover special attacks, which are unique to every character and usually the most interesting moves in the game. Since there is such a wide variety of moves that can be used, I will be covering specifically Mario's special attacks. Mario's side special attack is a cape that he waves in front of him to reflect projectiles flying at him. Or, if he hits an opponent with it, it won't deal damage, but it'll flip the opponent around and usually disorients a player. The upward special attack on nearly every character is a recovery move, which means it helps them get to the stage if they're below it. Mario's up special is a powerful jump that damages opponents. After using any up special, or really any move that helps you recover, a player will enter a state called freefall, which means they cannot use any attacks, including recovery attacks. This can cause the player to die if they're not close enough to grab the ledge or land on the stage. A player can also leave freefall if they're hit by an attack, and it will reset the recovery move. Mario's neutral special attack is a fireball that he can send out as a projectile. It'll deal damage and stun opponents for a moment, which is good when playing neutral game. Mario's down special is when he charges his flood, which is a tool that he can use to push water at people, which doesn't deal damage, but it's great for defending the ledge. It takes a moment to charge though, so you'll need to charge it before using it. Next, there are tilt attacks. Tilt attacks are weaker attacks that are extremely fast and usually very easy to hit. They follow the same directional rules as smash attacks, except that down tilts usually do not hit on both sides. Instead, they're used to trip opponents or just do a quick jab. Next are dash attacks. If you're dashing in the game, which is a good way to get around quickly, and attack, you'll do an attack that usually has a very long range and can hit opponents from far away. Finally, the last attack that can be done on the ground is a grab. Grabbing an opponent allows you to toss them in any direction, which is very powerful since you want to get them off the stage as soon as possible. Now, a lot of the gameplay you'll watch will be played in the air, because it's harder to hit an opponent that's airborne. So the moveset of characters changes entirely when they're airborne. The neutral air is a good comboing tool because it's easy to hit and usually hits opponents multiple times. It should be noted that aerial attacks are completely different from ground attacks in major ways. You can't change direction while you're in the air, so there are different attacks depending on which way you're facing. A forward, backward, upward, and downward aerial are all completely different moves than their ground counterparts, and are some of the most commonly used moves in the game. They are also the most likely to be able to perform something called a meteor spike, which means that if the attack hits an opponent perfectly, the opponent will quickly be shot down, which can mean death if they're above the blast zone. So now that you have a general understanding of how attacks work, how do you avoid them? Well, the first and most obvious one is dodging. You can dodge by either positioning yourself around an attack, or using the dodge mechanic, which allows you to be invincible for a few moments as you flip over an opponent. Dodging can also be done in the air dodging, which you can do more than just dodge left or right. You can also dodge up or down, which can help you grab the ledge. Another defensive option is shielding, and it's very common in competitive play. Every character has a shield with different durabilities depending on the character. It shrinks when taking damage, or if it's being held up too long. If it breaks, the character will be stunned and cannot move for a few seconds. If you drop a shield, which means you stop pressing the shield button, the instant that an opponent attacks you, you will parry the opponent, and it will allow you to make a move really quickly and do a counterattack. Opponents can be grabbed out of shield, however. Finally, I'd like to cover different character types. Now, I'd be here all day if I went through discussing the things that make every character unique, but you can make a few generalizations. The easiest generalization to make is weight class. There are characters that are heavier, and there are characters that are lighter. Lighter characters are easier to knock back and will die at lower percents, but they're frequently faster and can do combos easier. Larger characters are easier to hit because they're a larger target, but because of how heavy they are, they usually won't die until higher percents. So, it's a decision that has to be made by the player on which character to play. Now you should have a better understanding of how the game works on a fundamental level. The best way to learn now is just to watch some games and try and pick out some of these things that I've mentioned.